Hello and welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast, a show started by two physical therapy school classmates who sat in very different sections of the lecture hall. We cover topics that help you start, build, and grow your physical therapy practice with your hosts, Dr. Owen Campbell and Dr. Brian Wolf. Hello and welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast. I am Dr. Owen Campbell, owner of Simplify Motion in Phoenix, Arizona. And as always, with me is Dr. Brian Wolf, owner of Evolution Physical Therapy in Connecticut and Long Island. Brian, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We were talking about how I think the neurovirus is currently running through my house. It's my as you so boldly put, it's my Jordan game, my Jordan sick game. So let's do this.
Yeah, we won't tell anybody about what you did last night and put it in a documentary like we did with the Last Dance.
Exactly. That's perfect.
All right. So today we are going to go over. We've been talking about programs a lot in our last few episodes, and all of this kind of got me some inspiration. I want to say, honestly, since the last time we recorded, maybe 10 days ago. And I have started a Clubhead Speed workout, or a Clubhead Speed school. And what that is, for people who aren't big golfers, is one of the best ways to measure how well your body does in the golf swing to get more power, so to hit the ball farther down the fairway, is Clubhead Speed, right? Things can change with different balls and launch angles and all that other stuff, but the way that we can test the physical body, how fast you're going, is Clubhead Speed. So I created a Clubhead Speed school with a lot of inspiration from Brian, and it worked out really, really well. Brian called me after I told him, and I'm pretty sure he said, don't count on lightning striking twice with that. But we plan today to go over kind of what I did, and then hopefully be able to take some lessons from it. I haven't started. It's a 6-week program, so I'll be throwing in updates here and there.
I think it's good, man. I think the shoe's going to be on the other foot. It's going to be me more interviewing you this time around. So I think it'll be good.
It.
I think start with, like, what we were talking about is because we didn't write this in the pre-show, but explain exactly what the offer is, and to highlight really quickly, I think the name of the school was just on point. So just talk about kind of like what, and then we can break it down. I guess go from there.
So I played off of the speed school stuff that everybody does for like running sports, right? So I said Clubhead Speed School because in golf lingo, Clubhead Speed is a thing. And initially I actually offered it for free. I was going to say, you know what? I just want data. I want a product, a good value product that I can eventually bring and sell. So I said 12 weeks for free. And I didn't get a single bite. And then, of course, I talked to Brian. He said, well, did you boost the post? No, right? And I'm going down a little bit of the hole of like the marketing side, but sorry, I kind of veered off there. But basically what it is I'm going to bring people in for a TPI screen, get some data on them to know which exercises I should be choosing during the 6 weeks of workout. Each week is going to have 2 classes in the week. I'm only going to do 4 or 5 golfers, depending. There's one guy who hasn't gotten back to me. So I can keep it small enough that it would be just like a busy day at a tech-heavy clinic, right? And the owner of the gym, actually, I'm doing this at a gym, a local gym. He wants to be involved and kind of help out. And I said, well, hey, for the first one, it's actually going to be kind of nice because he's used to dealing with classes of 12, 15, and I'm used to one-on-one treatment, right? So it'll be nice. Plus, he can kind of get some tips if for whatever reason I'm sick, right? So we're going to do the TPI screen. Then I'm setting up a net, and I have a little mobile launch monitor that can test for their speed. And we'll do that on initial eval before we start the classes. Then we'll do 6 weeks of classes, and then after that, we're going to redo all the testing, right? So we are going to make sure we're going to check out to make sure if they got looser, stronger, all the stuff that we care about as physical therapists. And then we're also going to measure clubhead speed, right? So did they get faster? And my whole goal for this is to get something that works, right? We think it works. We know it usually works for people, but I want it to be Simplify Motion PT makes it so your club head speed is faster. Go to them, right? And then the hope is that I'm offering it now at an actual price. I'm not giving it away for free. But the hope is, we can provide a lot of good value, a lot of good evidence, maybe get some videos of it and market it, and then it becomes more of a recurring
And I
thing.
know it was interesting. So let's go back to that. Is this stuff about free and how you started it free, but then you did charge for this? And I know we talked
Yep.
about potentially like maybe you undercharged, but break down the numbers. So I know we talked about boosting the post, and that was just you can boost the post. So people, one of the things that drives me crazy is people will say to me, "Oh, boosting posts doesn't do anything." Here's a great example of how they're full of shit.
Yeah.
In terms of
Yeah.
boosting,
Yeah.
when you boost an advertisement, you're just putting it on like you're just basically you're skipping all of the steps on Ad Manager for Facebook, and so
Hmm.
it's just a little complex. Now you don't control as many variables. That's why people are like, "Oh, it doesn't do anything," but the
Yeah.
reality is you had a good advertisement, and what it does, it will
Yeah.
basically take the people that are like your audience that follow you, and essentially create an audience around there that are local.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. So from that
So
perspective,
Yeah, so what I did, and we talked about free, right? Well, free is stinky, right? Everyone always thinks, oh, if I offer something for free, there's going to be a million people doing it. And there's actually this kind of paradox of free, right? Where if somebody's offering something of value for free, a lot of times people look at that and say, what are they trying to sell me? When I walk in there, what are they going to have me sign up for and all that? So getting no responses, I actually shortened the workout time. I think you recommended that.
mm-hmm.
It's from 12 weeks to 6 weeks, and then I actually put it to $160, right? So
Nice.
that is about what that gym would charge for a package of 12 classes, right? So essentially, I'm giving people the TPI screen, the golf focus, the metrics, all that stuff for free now. And then, of course, when I have proof of concept, I'm going to charge a little bit more for my time.
That's I would recommend anybody listening to this podcast to do what Owen just did, right? And I'm going to highlight a few things that I'm hearing that I think why you hit such a home run, and we'll talk about again just the monumental side of it. So you got 5 guys that signed up or 4?
I have four.
4.
Well, I have one guy who's basically checking his calendar today. So, and if he
Got it.
doesn't, I have one or two on a wait list.
Beautiful. So like
Yeah.
ideally you got 5. So if you got
Yeah.
5, you got 5 at $160. We're
Hmm.
talking 320, 480,
Hmm.
right? And you're doing twice a week or once a
Wait,
week?
five at 160 is five. That's $800.
$800. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
There you go. Better
Yeah.
math. Good, good. So $800, and then that's for 12 sessions.
That's 12 sessions, 2 times a week for
Nice.
6 weeks, plus the TPI screen. So it's about 45 minutes. I'm having to do it all in one day too, so I don't have to set up the net twice.
That's great. Perfect.
And then I don't know what I'm going to do for the final one. I may, I kind of want to do the same stuff. But part of me also wants to go to one of those like bars with a simulator in it and just start crushing balls.
Yeah.
I might have him do an actual measurement and then go do that as a party.
Well, and let's go through kind of like when you boosted the post. How
Yep.
much this is where I told Owen like don't be prepared for the lightning strike twice here.
Yep.
I think you have something right, like
Yeah.
really great, and the cool part is when you have some of this guys, you can essentially just recreate it over and over and over again. So like the reality is Owen will do this program in 6 weeks, and then he can roll this out again, and you'd be
No
surprised,
pressure.
man, how many people. Yeah, you'll be surprised at how many people will probably sign up
Yeah.
again, right? And they'll
Well,
probably do it again.
and the reason I think it worked, there's two reasons. In my area, Phoenix is known for golf, right? But a lot of the golf courses and people who live on golf courses are about 30 minutes north of me. And there's not many in this neighborhood. This neighborhood has kind of it's urban, right? So not very many country clubs, but a lot of people who like golf,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I saw an opportunity there. So that could be the reason this took off is just no one else is doing it. The other reason could be my copy, right? I did the whole thing you said before where, oh, I've had 2 spots left for a
Yeah.
10-person class for like 3 months, right? So I didn't say, hey, would you like to? I said, 3 spots left, get in now, right? And then the other thing was, I don't know, I spent some time making the picture look good, making it look kind of professional on Canva to make sure that at least it was something that popped in the face, like you will be swinging a golf club
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah, I think the name is also really good too, right? Like Clubhead Speed,
Yeah.
because I think
Yeah.
when you think about Clubhead Speed and that process, like that rings out to people. It's funny. I was actually just going to look up, and I'll try and look it up, but there's a cool website that I've been put onto that talks about like headline analyzers and like how effective they are. And my first thought
Yeah.
was like that was a really catchy Clubhead, like Clubhead Speed, like people
Yeah.
who are golfers know what that is. And it's like I'm
Yeah.
taking, and then the sense of urgency, the price for the value is really, really perfect, right? Like,
Yeah.
again, for me, if I'm a golfer, $160 for 12 sessions, like it's a little less than $10,
Yeah.
a little more than $10 a session. Like,
Yeah.
even if I miss six of them, I still got
Yeah.
pretty decent value there. So I think that's those things.
Uh,
So really hit the home
it,
run.
and you have to compare it to what you're doing, right? So I mentioned the gym owner, and that's what he charges for classes. But people will buy a brand new driver for $700 to gain
Yeah,
an extra few yards, right?
exactly.
And my whole promotion was, well, yeah, but what happens when your buddy goes and buys that same driver? Then you're at the
Yeah,
same spot. You need to work on your body to always have an edge, regardless of what's in your hand.
yeah.
So, from a pricing perspective, you got to look at what the actual consumer is going to spend on the problem, as opposed to this is how much an hour of my time is.
Really, really good point there. Really good point there. And to talk about this real quickly, because we haven't actually touched on this, is the community and who that typically attracts, right? And it's not, on the one hand, I also am not a big believer. Someone's like, oh, you got to, for a cash PT or anything when it comes to insurance, like, oh, you have to be really good at that. Or, when you think about physical therapy and you think about the value, basically what I'm getting at is the golfing community is generally a pretty wealthy one, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they're
Yeah.
going to be somebody, to your point, who are going to drop $700 on a driver. So
Yeah.
so $160 on that is not. I don't want to call it a drop in the bucket, but
For them, it
it's the
is.
value's lower in their minds, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a huge commitment.
Yeah.
Whereas to your point, free, actually, it's like, whoa, well, wait a minute. They're going to waste my time by bringing me in and then trying to
Mm-hmm.
sell me this like $800 thing, right?
Yeah.
Because then their brain, that's something that's very powerful, is when you give a finite number that goes with something that has really good value, that actually has great conversion versus something that's free, that then there's like kind of a catch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we are designed as humans to be skeptical and be, BS monitors and try and fix that stuff. So I think you were dead on with this, is how to again, I think what's great about it is you execute it, and then what you basically can do is you can bump it to 199 next time, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's,
Yeah.
if you get the same response, like tell people the amount of money you had to spend on advertising for it.
$13.50.
I mean, so when we talked about earlier, like the cost of acquiring customer, one more time,
Yeah.
$13 and what?
And 50 cents.
50 cents
Very
divided
important.
by five. If he sends five people up, that's $2.07 per lead. That was the one that I was like, oh, and you won't get that again.
Yeah.
but in theory, think about it this way, right? If you were to increase the price
Mhm.
to $200 more, so from
Yeah.
160 to 360,
Yeah.
and it cost you $100 to acquire that customer, you'd actually make more money.
Yeah.
So that's, this is just all math. So when you think about it, then you got to think about, like, obviously what the cost is for rent, what are your costs of your time, and then you start breaking it down. But no, I mean, this was awesome, man. I was pumped when you texted me, because it was the speed at which you accumulated those leads. And
Yeah.
then the joke that you and I had was, and talk us through the sales process, because you got these leads and then you were like, I got everybody signed up already. But talk us through kind of like how you got them signed up, how you got
Yeah.
them locked in, how you got them sold, and how you got them to pay.
Yeah, so the nice thing, we haven't gotten to the pay yet, right? So the nice thing is it was all done through Instagram. Everything, they reached to me with DMs. So I was already in a text conversation that they initiated. And one guy actually said, "Oh, it's for me and a friend. We just have to figure it out." So because it's a small class and because I'm not running like 8 of these, I kind of want the time that I'm doing this, because that's going to be important, right? These guys are working. If I say it's going to be at 3 p.m. on a Sunday, they're not going to come, right? Well, they might come, but they have other obligations. So I asked them what the best times were from everybody, and then there was a time that matched up, 4 o'clock Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so I said, okay, now everyone's going to be okay with this time, right? So that was another thing, like, because people, yeah, I'm interested, but is it something I can actually do, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, everyone was really motivated. Like, I didn't have to talk anybody into it, and that's why I think it's just something this area needs, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the sales process was via text, right? I made sure I threw in a few things, because some of them started following me as a result, and I threw, when I got my launch monitor in the mail, like I did like a little Instagram video of that, so that they kind of saw like, okay, he's doing something. But that was it. Now I have the appointments on the schedule, right? So to me, that's not they haven't shown up and give me money,
Yeah.
but within a minute, if they show up to their appointment within a minute, I will have converted. Right.
Yeah, no, I think that's important to know, and this is my one knock on this is that until the money's in your until the
Yep.
money is swiped through, it's not a sale. But these are pretty hot leads to the point where,
Yeah.
and what was great that you did was, if you have a set time, like, hey, it's going to be for this class.
Yeah.
Typically, if you're like, hey, because obviously you're trying to get busier with patients, so say you're
Yeah.
like, hey, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 o'clock, or say Monday, Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, or whatever it's going to be,
Mhm.
that you're going to need 10 to 15 leads
Yep.
to make sure that you get that conversion, because maybe the guys can't make that time. Like, well, it's just not going to
Yep.
work for me this time. But the reality is, like, again, at $2.70, of cost requiring
Yeah.
customer, you're not going to care, right? So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So it's awesome.
And that's the other thing too, is as I envision this, hopefully I'll be able to have a morning offering, an evening offering,
Yeah.
and then like a few day changes, so I can have 3 or 4 classes, so that then I'm just advertising the school, and then
Yeah.
pick your time, right? And I also want to either you talked about getting the money. I've looked into MindBody, right,
Yep.
as a way of having somebody, oh, cool, here's the link, sign up, give me your money, now
Yeah.
let's talk, blah blah blah. So I think that
We've used
needs
MindBody. It's
evolution.
great.
Yeah, we either have to use a third company like that, or if I put, I don't know, what is it, Shopify or something on my site where I can just direct them to
Yeah,
my site and take
so
money.
so what Owen's talking about to you that is basically CRM systems that get money for you, right? Like, essentially that you can send them a
Yeah.
link. So like we use Explore Tribe for Connecticut. We use MindBody for Long Island and California. They're CRM systems that basically you can set up um, programs where people can pay you directly, and so they go through Stripe. So it's just a way. What's great about them is you can send a link like, hey, just pay here and we're good to go. And you
Yeah.
can sign up, right?
Stripe was the name I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Stripe is a good company as well. So I would definitely recommend people go to use Stripe or something along those lines. But there's tons of these, like Trainer Rise is another one. There's tons of these programs out there, so
Yeah.
you can shop them, see which one works best for you. I think honestly, amongst our company, we probably use some form of all of them. They're crazy between
Yeah.
Team Builder online, because we do stuff with high schools. Like, we're able to
Yeah.
program for an entire team. It's wild. So we use
Oh.
these programs are great once you have them, and then you can figure out how to send the links and
Yeah.
get people to pay, which is great.
Yeah.
And then they're
that's,
actually like signing up, and it's less friction, right? It's a little bit easier
Yeah.
for them to go in and then pay.
and that's where I'm spooked, right? Like I feel pretty good about treating golfers. When I'm one-on-one with the golfers, great. But like I'm kind of dipping my toe in the strength and conditioning waters, right? And how do I keep them motivated, and how do I keep them going through a class? They have to feel like it was a good workout, but also a golf specific workout. So those are the things where now I'm in the part where we were talking about before of like, you got to deliver, right?
Yeah.
And as rosy as you see the picture going forward, I'm still like, oh man, I got to not screw up the screens, and I got to make sure the golf net is set up correctly, and all these other kind of things. So it's going to be interesting.
I think the key with all this stuff, right? Like, if the the net isn't as good, and whatever, like, and so we should also touch base on the Rapsoda, because it's a great product, and something that, with what you're doing, it's an awesome way to do that.
Yeah.
The reality is, all these guys are going to care about is the results, right?
Yeah.
And I joke that you get one blemish per person, right?
Yeah.
But as long as they accomplish, like, we run these like 6-week transformation programs. If someone loses 10 pounds in 6 weeks, it doesn't matter if they missed some classes. There was a nutrition consult they missed. We were late for something. You know what I mean? Like, the
Yeah.
results were there. So that's the key. And so,
Yeah.
I think this is where we talk about this imposter syndrome, and
Mhm.
talk to us a little bit about, like, that mindset of where you're at,
Yeah.
and again, how you're combating it, and how I'm going to help you combat it too.
Well, so it's weird. Everything in this entrepreneurial journey I've always thought I couldn't do, and then you start doing it, and it's weird for like a day, and then you're like, oh, I could do this, I'm also, as you know from college, I'm also kind of very sure of myself, so that helps, or at least sure my ability to pick it up on the fly, right? So I don't. I'm just so worried about there being something I forgot, and then there's like 5 people there standing there like, why the hell am I here, right?
Yeah.
Like you forget the music, right, or you forget the whatever, and yeah, sure, I could talk enough to fill time, but those little things that I haven't done them before, so I'm already going to think I'm going to be bad at them.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people who are listening to this probably relate. And so the thing I would tell you is to practice this in front of like the mirror, right? Like
Yeah.
legitimately, like at night,
Okay.
all the families in bed. I think that was something I learned in a public speaking course that I took that was really good was like when everybody's asleep, and you're tired and you want to go to bed, it's like let me just go through the outline I have and like bang out this hour, right? And
Yeah.
so I think of some mobility flows that we've done with CrossFit stuff, or I think of other workshops. Like I'm helping one of our PTs put one together for a kettlebell series, or like this is a great one for golf. I love this. We do one with what's like for we do one for exit velocity for baseball for like
Mm.
swings, like for swinging. So very similar in that way.
Yeah.
Um, but what's awesome about that program, man, is like just rehearse it and rehearse and rehearse it.
Yeah.
One of the quotes that I think is great is, just get to a point where you're putting so much work that it's undeniable, right? Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you've done it to a point where like it's going to work and they're going
Yeah.
to get better. So when someone challenges you, like think about it, if someone challenged you on an ACL and they're like, hey, my ACL reconstruction, will I be back to sports? You're like, yeah. And they're like, well,
Huh.
what about this? What about that? I'm like, what do you mean? Like I've done 10 million of these, so it's good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think where you're hedging right now is, and again, to also put this a point of this is a very scalable model that you can make good money doing this is it's
Yeah.
a one to many versus you're used to one on one. So
Yeah.
it's a one to many model. But again, like think about the one to many. What's also cool about this is, you could do something where you raise the price, but maybe you also raise the people. Because maybe you're like,
Yeah.
what, I could do this with 12 people. I could do this with 10
Yeah.
people. I could do this with 8, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? To the point where that's the secret in gym classes and why there's a lot of successful gyms is they're able to have classes of 25 people, 20 people,
Yeah.
and so when people are paying 20-30 bucks a class but there's 20 people in that class, like you're making decent money an hour.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that probably is part of that.
Well, and it allows you to, if I say, I don't want to have that many, well, I'm going to up the price, right? Because
Yeah,
if I know it works. And the other thing, I think the price actually helps me knowing that I'm essentially giving the PT part of this away for free. I don't feel as bad as I would as if I priced it at probably what somebody would the top of what somebody would pay for a high level course.
yeah,
So, and then get my reps in, and then build up the price as I'm better.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? To your point, like when we just said, like practice and practice and practice, before you
Yeah.
do this is also 12 practice rounds, right? So you can
Yeah.
also practice it to a point where you're like, this is the greatest part about this, guys. Is like Owen's putting together this workshop. Now you've got it perfected, or now you've got it written. Now, in theory, once you've executed once, it's just like, okay, I know this works. So now I just got to perfect it and do it again and again
Yeah.
and again and again. And that's what makes
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it is like you don't really have to change much. You just
Yeah.
constantly update and like to your point, whether it's increase the price, oh, we need more time, or we can do more people, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I need 2 rap sodos like that, you know what I mean? Like there's a
Yeah.
way to start this is such a great launching point, particularly when you
Yeah.
hit the home run this fast. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? The nice part about when we talk about niching, right? And we've talked about niching a few times.
Hmm.
Honestly, I was so worried. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Just do it. Like, just put an
Yeah.
ad out that say like, this is what I like to do. This is what I like to treat. And honestly, I did that. And my neighbor, who's like, I can't make the classes, but he's like, I want you to come and work with me every week. And I'm like, oh, okay. So in his mind now, I've done enough. I've done enough to show that I'm a golf centric PT, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just one that likes to golf, right? So,
So that's a really good point that we didn't even factor into the cost of acquiring customers, the ripple effect.
yeah.
So many people, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, hey, do you want, we get these emails. I'm sure you've gotten them now, Owen. Hey, do you want 10 to 20 new leads in this next week?
Hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. Like,
Oh
and
yeah.
like, it's like, it's all these marketing guys that are doing virtual stuff and digital marketing. The reality is they're doing what you just did. So
Yeah.
the ripple effect, and then what's crazy is you did a great job of like getting the actual, person's name. They DM'd you, you signed them up. That's awesome. So once you get
Yeah.
to the point where like these other firms, what they basically do is they say, hey, we're going to get all these other leads to you, but there's the media storm around it. So it's not just social
Hmm.
media, it's word of mouth, it's newspaper ads to whatever, right? Like networking groups, it doesn't matter. Like it's creating
Yeah.
this storm around your name, and essentially what happens is Simplify Motion becomes synonymous with golfers. And
Yeah.
so as you do that, there's also the ripple effect that we don't. I think what's really smart is to use those metrics, like the different KPIs of like here is the cost of acquiring a customer. Here's what I'm charging. Here's what my time is. Here's how much I'm making, and like knowing that. But then realizing that in reality, that's the worst it could possibly be. Because if that client just came to you and signed up for one-on-ones and is going to pay you your rate, like in theory, it's actually way better than that, right?
Yeah.
So there's just and what's cool about that too, touching back on something we have talked about in previous podcasts, is you created more authority. So by creating more authority, by doing this, like people are like, oh, there's other people paying for this thing. I want in on that, right?
Yeah.
And so there must be something he's doing that people really like, and so it creates that authority naturally for you.
Yeah, and that's it. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, no pressure that we've done a podcast on how much Brian likes it before I even get any money in my hand. But
we'll fix that first. Get the money.
I was gonna say after check in with me after next week when I've gotten some credit cards. Yeah.
One other thing real quick, and this is one thing that I'm gonna call you out on it because I did actually tell you. Was when Owen didn't have the money, one of the things that happened was I said, make sure you get the money because a lot of times there might be some people that back out, and he had stopped the ad already. And I was like, don't stop the ad in that case, because in theory, even if you overpay, kind of like we talked about, like you're going to get more people, maybe you create a waiting, like you said, I love that you said I had a waiting list of 1 or 2 people, because inevitably if you get 10 people and you're like, all right, sweet, I got 10 leads, I'm going to get 10, you're probably not going to convert every single one of them. So the fact that you have 1 or 2 people, so that's something I recommend too, is, is once you have the money in hand, they are locked in. They have now purchased it. So if you got if you got 5 people who have purchased it and you've sold 5 people, now like, hey guys, sorry, like I don't have any more room. But I'll let you know when the next one comes out. And then you can actually start nurturing that. Like, hey, when are you available? You know what I mean? And then maybe it's something that you have, because quite frankly, your point about running 2 of these, maybe you have 10, 15 leads and you get 5 signed up, and you can get another 5 signed up right there and then. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to do this on Tuesday, Thursday for this crew. And for this other one, I'm going to do Monday, Wednesdays. Right. And now you can, like, that's a great problem. It's never a bad thing to have too many leads. Never.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you're not responding to somebody, and that sucks. I'm not saying that's a good thing to do, but I mean, that's way better than not having enough leads for sure.
True. Yeah.
Cool, man.
So we'll see where it goes, man.
Great stuff, dude.
I'm excited to learn.
Same. I'm excited to watch it happen.
Yeah. It's either going to be a plane crash or we're taking off.
No, it's you're going to take off. I'm pumped about it.
I'll check my doors to make sure they're bolted on. All right. So with that, Brian, I'm good. I know we're still in the works on the program through school, SKOOL. We'll have a little bit more to offer on that once we've dug into it. We already have a few members actually signed up, so that's pretty cool.
So if you're an S&C person who's starting at a gym, or you're a physical therapist, or even athletic trainer, chiro, anybody in the healthcare space, health and wellness space, we started a group that we're going to try and do. We're doing these teachings, but maybe we're going to do more specific, workshop based things that are in that program. So we're playing around with it now. So definitely comment below and let us know. We'll send you the link. Maybe we can embed the link somewhere in here, Owen, too, so they can click on it and check it out. Because right now it's free. So talking about it's free now. Eventually we will charge for it. There is the free into whatever. So if you jump in now, you can get access to all of our stuff for free. But once we get to a certain point, we're going to want to start charging for it. So jump in and talk with us about it.
Yeah, and as always, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts. Like, subscribe, 5 stars, all the fun stuff that all people on the internets say. All right, man. I am out. Have a good Thursday.
Thanks, man. You too.
All right.
See ya.